Hi, welcome back to the Power BI for Schools beginner course. This is lesson 4, relationships, which in Power BI, just like in life, are very important, maybe even more so in BI because they sit in the background, it's easy to forget about them, but if your report is misbehaving, it's very often the relationships that are the problem. So we manage those in the model screen, so over here, so I click on model. And as you can see, I've got two tables here, students and attendance. And in my students table, I've got a field student ID, which is in this case, a number, could be numbers or letters, but it's a code that uniquely identifies the students on this table. And we call that the primary key of this table. There's only one record per student, and what the relationship allows you to do is link that information to, say for example, the attendance table, where instead of storing all this student data, the name, the gender, etc., multiple times for each attendance record, we just store the student ID. So each student ID will appear multiple times on this table, and it's called a foreign key on the attendance table. To create a relationship, all I need to do is just drag from one to the other, and as you can see, I've got a 1 here. That means that my student IDs are unique on this table. I've got a little star here. That means that they're not, so we call this a one-to-many relationship. You see this little arrow here, that's the filter direction. So I'll show you what that means over here. Okay, so I've got a measure up here, attendance, and that's calculating the number of present sessions, dividing it by the number of possible sessions. If I add a slicer to my report here, I'm going to put in a field from students, so for example gender, and I can now, when I filter the students table, you see the attendance changing as that filter's carried through the relationship to the attendance table. But if I were to go the other way around, so if we made this card my count of students, and we made this slicer into attendance marks, filtering the attendance table doesn't change the student count because the relationship only flows from students to attendance. Now if we right click on the relationship and select its properties, we can actually make the filter operate in both directions. So if we select both here, then filters on attendance would filter the students table. There might be occasions where you want to do this to make a particular calculation or visual work. It's generally a bad idea though, because bidirectional filters will tend to slow your reports down. So especially if you've got a lot of data or you've got a complicated model, you want to avoid using those. You can also make the relationship inactive by unticking this, and the reason why you would want an inactive relationship as opposed to just deleting it and having none is that there are formulas in DAX you can use to switch between active and inactive relationships, but that's for a bit further down the line. One more thing to be aware of is that when you import data tables into your model, BI will automatically detect and guess what relationships to create, and generally it will do that well, especially if your fields are all named consistently. It might though create relationships you don't want, so after importing new tables you should always check the model to see that everything's in order.